Welcome to the Love and Meaning Podcast, where inner work is a lifestyle. Welcome to the Love and Meaning Podcast. I am your host, Cree, aka Chrystelle Robinson-Tiedemann, and today I have for you a lesson in love. I want to tell you a story. I had an amazing experience yesterday during an IFS session. So one of my favorite modalities to assist me in my own self-discovery and to assist me in overcoming, mainly it's to learn me, but also I engage with IFS when I feel like there's something that's really blocking me from something that I desire. Like I'm feeling something holding me back that I can't necessarily fully explain or understand. And so I was first introduced to internal family systems through work because I am a mental health occupational therapist. And part of being a licensed occupational therapist, you have to continue your education and you have to demonstrate that you're continuing your education. So a few years back, for continuing education, I came across internal family systems, or IFS. And I was immediately obsessed. And it's a treatment for trauma. It was created as a trauma treatment, but very quickly was it realized that this can be used for absolutely anyone, for absolutely anything. And it's a little strange, but extremely effective and extremely intuitive. So if we can just wrap our heads around trying to cognitively understand it, like get away from trying to cognitively understand it and just kind of engage with it. It's one of the most intuitive things that you could ever do. And how it works is you start to build a relationship with your parts. And what parts are basically you, different aspects of yourself that have been birthed, have been created out of necessity based off of your life experience. So inside of ourselves is a system. There's a network of multiple identities, multiple parts of you. And they all kind of work together in order to do their best to keep the system functioning. IFS is like the perfect marriage between psychology and spirituality for me. And so this internal family, think of it as your own family. You yourself are your own family, and there are multiple parts of you. And what happens is, depending on what's going on in your life, different parts of you are in the driver's seat. And the thing is that we don't even realize it. We don't actually realize who's steering the ship most of the time. And working with our parts helps us to, number one, be in full awareness of who's steering the ship. And number two, hopefully it's the you, the ultimate you, that's doing it. And who is the ultimate you? And how? It's very simple. The ultimate you is determined is by the 8 C's. And the 8 C's are 8 different qualities of self. So in IFS, it calls that part of you, the ultimate you, self. To me, it's synonymous with like soul. And there are 8 qualities. And anytime that you are experiencing any of those 8 qualities, you're in self energy. You're in that ultimate you energy, your true authenticity, your soul energy. So the 8 C's, and I'm going to try my best to remember them, are calmness, calm, compassion, clarity, connectedness, courage, curiosity, creativity, and what am I missing? Calm, curiosity, clarity, compassion, confidence. I think I missed confidence. So calm, curiosity, clarity, compassion, confidence, courage, creativity, connectedness. The 8 C's. Anytime we are experiencing any of those qualities, we're in self energy. So I have been doing IFS with myself ever since I discovered it. And if you want to learn more, start to just kind of learn more on your own, 2 books that I recommend. One, Richard Schwartz, the creator of IFS, Richard Schwartz's book, No Bad Parts. And 2, Gabby Bernstein's new book, Self-Help. The self of that title is the self of IFS. It's absolutely amazing, easily digestible for the average person. Gabby Bernstein herself, like she basically wrote the book because IFS has helped her so much. So I work with a practitioner and then I, was doing it on my own. But when I come across like a pretty big block or something that feels like stuck, and I'm like, I could really dive deep here, I get help, and I'll book like a one-time session with my IFS therapist. So I did that yesterday, and I'm gonna share with you with total transparency this experience because it was incredible. So I booked the session with the focus on receiving. I feel like there is a block there in my receiving capacity. Like my receiving muscle needs work. One of the areas of personal development that I've really dove into is feminine energy because I found myself operating in such a masculine paradigm for so long and I hadn't even realized it. And one of those feminine energy aspects that are more challenging for me, and it's just, I feel like it's very challenging for a lot of women, is receiving. And I run a business and I have big dreams. I have a big mission and vision, and I want to expand. And I've been feeling like a constriction, around the idea of charging more. And I want to be able to step into higher and higher and higher levels of what it is that I do without feeling this constriction around the idea of receiving more. There is an energetic exchange that happens. I give energy. I use my energy, putting it into my craft, into my art, and there's an energetic exchange in return. It's not always money, but money is a fantastic one, and money is a very helpful one if you're running a business, right? And in order for that energetic exchange to feel balanced, I have to be able to receive the exchange, or else it's going to limit what I'm able to offer. And I don't want to limit what I'm able to offer. And so this session was about me digging into like, where's the block? Like what is it that's getting in the way of the receiving? And so I'm just going to like cut to, the major aspect of the session, where my therapist asked me to bring up the part, feel into the energy of the part that is, I can't remember the exact question that she asked to trigger me into bringing up this part around, but it was around the subject of receiving. And when this part showed up, first thing my therapist asked me to do is tell me what she looks like. What does it look like? And it was probably the oddest looking part I've ever engaged with, because this is very common. You see them. Like when I engage with my parts, I can literally see them. I can, you know, I can see how close they are to me. We can embrace each other. We can, like, it's an entire experience with this entity. And so when I saw this part, it didn't, my parts tend to have like mostly quite human appearance. It was not even fully human looking, and it was androgynous. But what I understood clearly was that it was an awkward teenager. It was some sort of subconscious representation for me of like an awkward teenager. So it was like lanky, skinny and lanky, and a little bit like hunched. And I couldn't tell if it was freckles or pimples, which I had neither of in high school. So it's odd, but like my mind just represented awkward teenageness, and all of that showed up. And I can feel that this is a part of me, but I was really in a lot of awe and had so much curiosity to like just simply its appearance. And I was like, oh, so it's an awkward teenager. And then it began it was very shy, right? And I began to engage with it with so much kindness and love. Like I'm in the 8 C's, I'm interacting with this part with those qualities inside of me. And if I feel anything else come up other than those 8 C's in my interaction with that part, that's another part. That's not you. So that means another part has like snuck its way in. And that actually happened during our session. So what happened was my therapist asked me, like, what do you feel towards it? And I said, I feel so much appreciation and compassion and love towards it. It was so shy and like sweet. It had this like sweet, innocent kind of energy, and it was so shy. And so I felt so much tenderness towards it. And my therapist was like, tell it what you feel. And so I did. And it kind of like did this like coy kind of smile, like looking down like that, like kind of smile like that. And then my therapist, who is my friend, so my IFS practitioner happens to also be my friend. Like I'm so blessed to know so many people in all these different modalities. So she said, can you also let it know that I love it too. And I'm so happy it's here, and I'm so happy that it's talking to us. Can you please let it know? And so I passed on the message, and my part like beamed at that. And I was like, I felt this part of me come up like, like she got all of that, and all I got was this coy smile. So that was a jealousy part that popped in. And I knew I've been doing IFS for a while. So I knew that was not one of the 8Cs. So I knew that wasn't me. And I was like, I think someone else is here. And so we just very kindly asked for the jealousy part. I acknowledged her, and I'm like, everything is valid that you're everything you're feeling and experiencing is valid. And would you mind just going into the waiting room, and I'll come check. I'm just gonna, have some time with this part, and I'm gonna come check in on you shortly. And she did, and it was fine. But anytime you feel anything outside of the 8Cs, that's not you, that's another part. So that was the only time another part popped in. Anyway, so I meet this part related to receiving. I remember how she made me bring it up. She made me imagine that I was on a call and I pitched this offer to these these clients or community members, and I pitched this big offer to them. What comes up in your body? And that's how I activated the part. So you can find a part often through the actual physical sensations that are happening in your body. So when I imagined doing it, I felt like constriction, kind of like this fear. And I was like, okay, so let me feel into the constriction and the fear and feel into, the sensation in my body. And then from there, like what part is present? Like what part is present with this? And that's how it appeared. And so I meet this part and I start to ask her questions. So this part we weren't very verbal. But I asked, what is it that you want me to know? She didn't verbally respond. It didn't verbally respond. I keep referring it, she, because as the conversation moved on, it morphed into a she, but I'll explain. So, what would you like me to know? I asked the part, and it demonstrated to me more visually and with like no, it's just like a feeling that it wanted me to look at it, like really, really look at it. And so I did. And what began as I looked at it was this montage. So as I looked at the awkward teenage figure, it slowly began to mold into the 13 or 14-year-old version of me. And I was a very skinny and slower to develop kid than the other kids in my class. And I was also 1 year younger because I skipped a grade. And so it was like the 13 or 14-year-old version of me in front of a mirror, just contorting herself, trying to stand in a way to make it so that her hips look bigger, or that it looked like she had hips, stuff in her bra to look like she had boobs, and like doing all of these things to try to look more like a mature woman or like a young, my peers. And this very fast montage began of a replay of the endless times I did that in the mirror over and over and over and over and over again, contorting, trying to like hold my thighs so that like they push out that way, like trying to figure out a way to stand so it looked like my hips are bigger, but like my thighs are smaller, like trying to like stick my butt in rather than out and then maybe stick it out, like all over and over and over. Get this replay, this montage was happening in like me watching. It was like it's like I transported to the past and was watching this sped up montage of her, because she's a her now, she's me at like 14 doing this. And I became very tearful, like I wasn't really like bawling but like teary, and it was quite moving because it was just such a stark, like I know yes, I did that. I didn't realize the effect it had on me. I didn't even realize how much it played a role in my childhood, my adolescent experience. And my part started to, as she showed me this montage, she started to get really silly with it. So she's like stuffing the bra funny and like it's all lumpy and weird. And then she's like taking out and like forget it. And then she like comes with like tennis balls, and it's like she was just trying all kinds of things. And like eventually we just started, both were just cracking up. Like we're both just laughing. Like me and my part, we're both just laughing at how silly she is. And eventually she just like sillied herself into like collapsing on the floor and kind of like sitting beside me, and we were both just like sitting beside each other and like laughing and like kind of fondly like leaning against each other, and I was like teary and laughing. And oh my God, oh my God, I had no idea. I had no idea that this was like trapped inside of me. And after we were in this like very loving place now with each other, and she just looked, like a 14-year-old kind of goofy version of me, my therapist asked me, ask her, can you ask her if there's anything else that she wants you to know, but like what is it that she wants you to like take away from this? What does she really ultimately, what does she want you to know? And so I asked her, and again, she didn't really use words, but she got up and stood in front of me, and she was being silly. I'm silly and I'm goofy, and she was being me, maybe a little extra exaggerated. And then all of a sudden, she was me, that same me, but translucent around her was what I consider my image of me as the goddess archetype. And what she was showing me is you, goofy, however your body is, however your personality is, this idea of like, you were not mature enough, you didn't have what the other girls had, you're not a woman, you're not a girl, like you're not, just not enough, not mature enough. Almost like it's like I held this energy about myself as unripened fruit, like why would someone pick the green banana off the shelf when you can get the yellow one, like you're gonna pick the the perfectly ripe fruit, and you're just like underdeveloped. She showed me in just all my meanness as I was, with this loving feeling in us, the way that we just laughed and just cried and just had fun and just saw truth and just appreciated us with the goddess as one. She was showing me the me that I am all the time, all the parts of me, all the things about me are the goddess. She was showing me that the idea that there is a part of me that knows like people relate to me, people get along with me, people like me, people even find me really helpful and influential and a role model, and they really appreciate what I have to share. In my down to earthness and my goofiness and my quirkiness is also the same as the authority in what I do who gets paid. They're not separate, and I've been holding them as separate things. And the reason it felt so constricting is because the me that I thought deserved to be paid didn't feel like a genuine me. It felt like someone else, a different version, a riper version. So how could it feel good to ask someone to give me money in exchange for something that isn't authentic when I don't even know how to operate inauthentically? And so I can be myself, and that's fine. But this authority version that deserves to make tons of money, that's a different thing that isn't, it can't be quirky, it can't be goofy, it can't be silly and down to earth, it can't be having feelings all over the place, all of that stuff. This was all the subconscious story that existed inside of me that was wedged there since I was an adolescent, and always felt like I wasn't quite up to par with the rest. And I never realized that I never actually released that. I've just continued feeling not up to par with the rest, but inherently Like it's an inherent thing. It's not even like you need to know more information, you need to study more, you need to have more certifications. It's not that. It's like inherently I am the immature version. And the very interesting thing that came with this part teaching for me is the last question that we asked was, is there anyone or anything that you're afraid of? Like back in that time when, you felt it was necessary for you to come about, to protect. Who were you afraid of, or what were you afraid of? And her answer was me. Her answer was she was afraid of me going to a dark place within myself, the way that I felt about myself. If she wasn't created, then I'd maybe fall into like a pit of despair instead, maybe like, depression or even darker place. And so to stop me from going there, me, it was my image of myself, not anyone else. And then that made perfect sense when we go back to the beginning, and she was coy with me, I just got one of these. And my therapist, my friend, when she said she loved her, she was just like totally receiving of it. She didn't quite trust me yet. We had to build that. And that was built through my listening, through my giving her my full attention with all of my heart and all of my compassion and my curiosity and my courage. And I completely understand. I completely understand now. And so we then, I guess that wasn't the final question, because then we then asked her, what would she like me to do with this information? What would she like me to do now? And she said that she would like for me to look in the mirror every day and see myself in that way. See me, see the goddess, see the 13, 14-year-old version of me, see all of us in the same way, that translucent way that she showed me the layers within. But all of it is shrouded in the goddess. That doesn't change. And she said she's going to stay like this. So at that point, when she had shifted into the goddess, she stayed that way. And even her demeanor was different. Like she was still like, it was like you saw both of them acting. Like I could see the silly version of me, the goofy version of me on the inside acting, doing this, like basically they were doing the same, having the same conversation with me, like, but one was a little goofier and one was like poised and graceful, and I'm both. I'm all. So I'm goofy and silly and down to earth and emotional and very, very friendly and an authority and a businesswoman and an entrepreneur and entirely capable and deserving of being paid and all of that. And so she wants me to look in the mirror every day and see myself. And she said, I'm going to help you. I'm going to stay like this and I'm going to help you. Like, you cannot make this shit up. Only like something like this can only happen in IFS or like maybe on an ayahuasca trip. You know what I mean? This was in my living room in a 1 hour Zoom meeting, and I had my first mirror work moment this morning. And as soon as I looked at myself in the mirror, she was there. She was right there beside me. I felt her, and she took my hand, just as she promised she'll help me. She was right there. And I looked at myself, and I couldn't even help but just smile and stand a little stronger. And I do not think that it's a coincidence, but this morning I do a check-in with myself with my parts every single morning. And if you want to learn how to do that, it is really easy and really, really effective. I recommend you checking out my 15-day Rise and Shine challenge. And it's teaching you a new version of the morning routine. Like, we're throwing out the morning routine and we're stepping into a aligned morning ritual. So my Rise and Shine Challenge is actually currently going on. It ends this Friday. And so for the next couple of days, it is still available for free, but then after that it will be packaged and sold. But absolutely amazing. And everyone has, given amazing feedback about how helpful it's been. And so I do this check in with my parts in the morning. And this morning is the first time in how long I cannot tell you that anxiety was not present this morning. I'm not saying that part's gone away, but it was not present this morning. And I don't think that that was a coincidence. And at the end of the session, when we were done, I closed out my communication with my parts. I re-met with the part that was in the waiting room. Like, we closed out the session and me and the practitioner were talking. She made me redo the imagination of me pitching my new offer. And the experience in my body was so different. My heart still beat a little fast, but I actually said this time, I was like, it could be like fear, but it also feels a lot more like excitement too. And it was just a very different experience in my nervous system. And I could feel that part there, like, you got this, girl. You can't make this shit up. It is absolutely mind blowing stuff. And so I'm going to continue, as promised, with this mirror work with myself and this part. And I'm going to continue to work with that receiving muscle, but I feel like a huge stepping stone has been laying in front of me, and I kind of just, making leaps. Like, it feels like a huge almost weight lifted. Like there's a lightness inside of me. It's almost like my creative gauge got like turned up, like, and the ideas and all the things are flowing because, like, it's limitless. It's limitless. Whereas I was putting so many limits on myself. So I wanted to share this story because I'm amazed, and because I'm all about self leadership. I'm all about the work that we can do that helps us to overcome any limitation. Like, I don't think that limitation is necessary in this lifetime, but it is very much a realistic part of it. And anything that we can do to unleash ourselves and let ourselves show up in our fullest power, in the most self that we can be while we're incarnated in this body, in these bodies, is the freaking point. And that's going to be work for the rest of our lives, but it's very much a choice, and the resources are available, and this is what this work is. And so anything that is super helpful to me, I want to share with the world. And IFS is so tangible for anyone, and there's now so many different ways that people can engage with it by themselves. And I think one of the beautiful things is that you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be like timid, like, I'm messing up, like, I'm not doing it right. Like, you'll get guidance, but you're not gonna like hurt yourself. You know what I mean? It's really such a beautiful, intuitive way of engaging with the self and of diving deep into self-discovery in ways that we've like never done before. So how is this a lesson in love? This is a lesson in love because the more of us, the more of ourselves, aka your own internal family system, that you find love for, that you engage with, and step into those 8 C's and see and acknowledge and bestow all of your heart and your compassion towards, not only the more will you step into self-leadership, but the more coherence will be in that system, and how you show up in the world is unstoppable. This is self love, all of us. And it's important to know that we can kind of love ourselves in parts. I think most of us are doing that. Okay, all of us are doing that, really. Because the reality is, we don't even know the parts that are there until we start diving in and getting curious and getting brave and engaging in an exploration within ourselves. We don't actually know the parts that are there. And ultimately, all they really, really want is acknowledgement. And you guys will figure out the rest, you know? You will figure out the rest. But the more we pour love on these parts, the more we see ourselves thrive, thrive. And it can happen pretty damn quickly, pretty damn quickly. So I encourage everybody to start discovering themselves in whichever way feels good to you. But if you were open to a new way, a really fun way to get started might be to do my 15-day Rise and Shine challenge. And it's simple. It takes like 15 minutes max every morning. I'm not going to spoil it, but yes, IFS is involved. It's nothing like what you expect. I'm going to say that. It is nothing like what you expect. I had one of my community members be like, okay, I was totally thinking like, you're going to be like, all right, we're going to meditate, we're going to journal, first thing that I'm going to say is bring an open mind. Bring an open mind, but you will not regret it. 15 minutes, starting your day from the inside out, starting your day soul aligned, starting your day with your intuition as your ally. Absolutely amazing things will happen. Amazing things will happen. And most importantly, you are going to step into a relationship with yourself like you've never had before. And inevitably, that love of self will grow. All the details are located in the show notes. I would love to hear about your experience. You can write it right into the comments. You can come into my Instagram and share with me there. You can, if you're looking for a community to do this with, then you can join the Collective Perspective membership. But let me know and give it a try. I know you will not regret this at all. And I hope that this story was helpful, and I hope that it really shows, it demonstrates the brilliance and the complexity of our inner systems and everything that they do to look after us, and how beautiful it can be to see yourself in an entirely new light, and the results that come from it is a trust and self-leadership. I love you, and I will see you on the next one.